Welcome. How wonderful it feels to welcome the class of 2021 and your guests, our speaker, Abigail Stark, board chair, Patrick Long, and those who are joining us via live stream to Westminster Church for the 170th commencement ceremony from Buffalo Seminary. Please join me and offer a special welcome to the members of the class of 2021 who cannot be here in person today. We miss you and we wish you were here. I'm going to give them a quick round. Today marks the beginning of what comes next for all of you seniors and for all of us as well. In celebration of that fact, I've decided not to use any of the following 7 words or phrases in my opening remarks. Have you completed your health screen? COVID-19, close contact, unprecedented, quarantine, Zoom, or pivot. Instead, let's spend a few minutes talking about the class of 2021 and what you will carry forward and what we will carry with us from you. The 2018 Seminary, your 9th grade year, says that your class is diverse, ambitious, and unique. My, how that holds true. Mrs. Leslie and I had the pleasure of greeting you each morning, and as we learned how unique you are, we noticed some obvious patterns that emerged. Tia is up first, checking in at the crack of dawn each day. Lauren needs a little coaxing to smile in the morning. Morning glory. We've learned of a few minor mechanical difficulties or fender benders from the modes of transportation, when the modes of transportation changed, Claire, Mary Grace, and Molly. Jo loves to engage in conversation and doesn't like saying goodbye to her mom in the morning. Ella does not like to speak until noon. Jada, Mary Grace, Alexa, and Grace will sit in their car waiting for the last moment to come into school. Molly chose our first word of the day, dandy. Fiona would arrive hustling from our right, just as the bell was ringing, and enter the building each day with these words, "Have a nice day." Her words signaled to Mrs. Leslie and me to scan down Bidwell to our left for the stragglers. Molly, Becca, Penny, a late arrival to this crew, Hannah, and Leah. Kimmy made a grand entrance on a motorcycle one day. It is funny how for all your individual personalities, it is your patterns of arrival, your voices and mumbles, your modes of transportation that gave Mrs. Leslie and me much needed predictability in unpredictable times. Your uniqueness was apparent in 9th grade, and it showed every day as seniors, except now it is strengthened by your confidence and pride in your individuality. This is part of your legacy. The last sentence in that same seminary from 2018 said, "The next 4 years will no doubt pass in a whirlwind of good, bad, and in between. But no matter what the coming years throw at us, we will make it." No one could have foreseen the path your 4 years would take, but they have included the good, the bad, and the in-between. Throughout your whirlwind of high school, your natural inclination to look around you, to engage in the world beyond our walls, to be curious, to stay informed, to question what you saw, and to look at things from many different perspectives, encouraged us to do the same. You taught us to think deeply, to remain open to new ideas and perspectives, and to strive for understanding. You have discovered what matters to you. Your convictions are strong, your passions run deep, and they occasionally run hot. Bruce Springsteen said in his song Growing Up, "When they said sit down, I stood up. When they said pull down, I pulled up." Those words resonated with me in high school. They were rebellious and so matter-of-fact. Yet upon reflection, things aren't that simple, nor do they need to be as polarizing, as reactionary as those words sound to me today. There were anxious and difficult moments this year, and there will be in your future. It is in these moments, don't allow yourself to be pulled apart. Try to slow down. As Dagny said, find ease. Yes, hold fast to what you value and don't back down. Pursue your passions with everything you have, but also breathe. Continue, as you did this year, to make space and time for others and embrace them. You have proved that your capacity to care for others is enormous. Please remember to care for yourselves. Finally, your ability to create fun and special moments for the entire SEM community is treasured and will be remembered. Who else would think to start our days with puns and riddles to make us groan and laugh? Who else thinks to surprise us all with a new virtual background on our computers to announce Senior Week? What other class would string brassiers across the atrium? Who else has hidden class calling cards throughout the school to be discovered by future classes? And I hope that you all will find a few when you return for your 50th reunion. Here's a little hint. Find the Emily Post etiquette book in my office and turn to page 21. There might be something there for you. What would you do? Who would do these things and so much more? You would. The class of 2021, you are one of a kind. As predicted in that seminary, no matter what was thrown your way, not only did you make it, but you stuck together, and along the way, you pulled, pushed, cajoled the rest of us to join you on this journey. To a one-of-a-kind class in a one-of-a-kind year, thank you. Congratulations, stay well, come back often, and stay in touch. Thank you. It is my honor to present the Betty Butzer Brown Class of 44 Endowed Award. Ron, did I jump? For Humanities faculty, to a one-of-a-kind couple to join the celebration with this one-of-a-kind class in a one-of-a-kind year. Kyle and Doug Hopkins, you sailed into the SEM community, bringing with you a gusto for living, for rising to challenges, and for taking risks. And although not teachers by trade before SEM, you brought your innate ability to humbly share this all with us. Through dance, music, health leadership, community service, with tears and laughter, Kyle, by example, unabashedly taught us what it means to be human. Doug, in addition to teaching the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, created a class that allows students to discover their history and the history of our city. This knowledge helps them develop a deeper sense of self and place. They understand that they help students understand that they are an integral part of any community of which they are a part. Yet, your most powerful lesson is that our individual strengths are made stronger when shared with another and joined by others. You showed us love, laughter, compassion, and conviction. As difficult as it is to say goodbye and let you write another chapter in your lives, know that the examples and lessons will stay with us. You will always be a part of the fabric of SEM. Thank you for sharing this time of your life with us, and know we have had the time of our lives with you. Thank you. How do you honor a person who does not like the limelight and is not motivated by recognition? Actually, that is putting it mildly. She really doesn't like the spotlight. Well, I will tell you how. In this one instance, you don't listen. Nancy A. Miller joined the SEM team in 1993. She has worn many hats: data processing, event planning, newsletter writing, gift wrapping, to name a few. And yet, not many know that Nancy can see the big picture in our advancement work. She has a keen sense of what is needed for success. She is an integral part of developing our strategy for each aspect of the work, all the while paying attention to the smallest details to make sure others can put their best foot forward. She gently sends reminders and sounds the alert if she sees something amiss. She can anticipate questions and has the answers ready. She takes great pride in SEM and in her work, and it shows. To honor Nancy and all that she has meant to the SEM community, I'm thrilled to announce the creation of the Nancy A. Miller Award to recognize the dedicated service of a staff member at Buffalo Seminary. I invite her granddaughters and her daughter to join me here to present this award, the first Nancy A. Miller Award, to Nancy Miller. Carrie. Welcome, Nancy. The SEM pennant was given to me by SEM graduate Catherine Schweitzer, class of 1971, over 2 years ago, to be presented to Nancy and her family to pay tribute to 3 generations of one family together at SEM. Today presents the perfect opportunity to do that and to honor Nancy for all she has done at SEM. The award will ensure that her legacy of excellence and dedication will stay with us. Thank you, Nancy. It is a pleasure for me to welcome Abigail Stark, class of 2008, as today's commencement speaker. Abby comes from a long line of distinguished and dedicated SEM women. Her grandmother, poet Ancy Silverman Baird, class of 1955, is a beloved teacher of English and the force behind the sophomore poetry study. Her mom, Cynthia Baird Stark, class of 1981, served as director of admissions at SEM from the year 2003 to 2008. While at SEM, I had the pleasure of coaching Abby. She was a tenacious and smart defender on the field hockey field, and when one combined those traits with her kindness and intellect, she was a force with which to be reckoned in the classroom. After SEM, Abby graduated from Williams College in 2012 with a BA in psychology and English. She earned her PhD in clinical psychology from Suffolk University and is currently a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard Medical School McLean Hospital in clinical psychology. Her research work includes work on adolescent anxiety, yet why I am so excited to welcome Abby is because every time when we have spoken, it is her calm and her optimistic outlook which caught my attention. It is my pleasure to welcome Abby Stark.
Thank you. I am so happy and honored to be this year's graduation speaker. The last time I was here in this room at Westminster, I was graduating from SEM. There's a lot that feels similar to that day, the traditions that continue, the white dresses, the stained glass windows, the flowers. And there's so much that has changed, not only over time, but during this year in particular. It was interesting talking to people about giving this speech. Almost everyone mentioned the same word to me: resiliency. Friends, my parents, grandparents all asked, "Are you going to talk about resiliency?" At first I thought, of course, yes, definitely. I've written papers on resiliency during the pandemic, how to remain resilient in the face of anxiety, grief, trauma. I'm a psychologist, and resiliency is something we talk about in meetings, in therapy, in research. And I realized as this word repeated over and over again, I think we've all learned a lot about resiliency. Probably something about Zoom as well, having to have birthday parties while social distancing, millions of small hobbies that people have picked up during all this time inside. Resiliency is something created, something we've all had to do this past year to get through hardship. And so I thought I would speak about something a little bit different, as it seems that you are all a remarkably resilient class, who is instilled with a strong sense of your own values and motivation to make changes. Actually, the very first words Mrs. Marlette said to me about this class, the class of 2021, was that this is such a special and unique class in terms of their resilience, their ability to push for change. So it seems that you all have plenty to teach me, teach all of us, teach people about resilience. So instead, I thought I would talk about zoom in on something smaller, which I think is a big part of resilience. I thought I would talk to you all about uncertainty. What to do with uncertainty, how to tolerate the misery of uncertainty, embrace the wonder of uncertainty. This theme of uncertainty stood out to me as a constant in the past year, in a way that never before had been so accentuated. We often show resilience in situations that are uncertain. When our lives feel unclear, risky, we feel vulnerable. In many ways, uncertainty is kind of a prerequisite to demonstrating resilience. And of course, uncertainty is nothing new in life. Senior year itself is a time of uncertainty and change. What will my next steps be like after SEM? What city or town will I live in? What will school be like? I remember having those very thoughts sitting here in Westminster with my close friends and classmates when I was graduating. And I can imagine this senior year was a time even more rife with uncertainty than others. Even envisioning this graduation this past fall, it must have been unclear whether we would be sitting here in this room together or in little boxes on Zoom screens. So let's talk a bit about uncertainty. As we grow older, we realize just how volatile, random, maybe a little fickle, and fantastically unpredictable life really is. So I have two stories I wanted to share that help me think about uncertainty. So to give some context to these stories, like Mrs. Marlette was saying, I'm a clinical psychologist, a postdoctoral fellow at 2 hospitals in Boston. And I work mainly with teenagers and young adults with severe anxiety and OCD in the hospital setting. At the clinic I work at, the way we think of anxiety disorders developing is that when life feels uncertain, when it feels like things could possibly go wrong, an alarm bell rings in that fear center of our brain, the amygdala, the small almond-shaped bit of brain. And emotions are meant to motivate us to quick action, to do things without thinking. If you're standing on the crosswalk and a car is speeding around the corner, you want to jump back without thinking about anything else. And anxiety is a thrillingly protective and adrenaline-charged emotion. It's important to know that anxiety pushes us to avoid things, to get away from whatever danger is causing us this uncomfortable feeling of our breath racing, our hearts thumping, stomachs churning, muscles tense. The tough thing, though, about anxiety is that the more we avoid something, the more we teach our brain that this thing is dangerous, that this thing is unmanageable, that we can't handle it. So what do we do? What do we do when uncertainty makes us anxious? We practice approaching. We do the thing over and over again until you're not afraid of it anymore. So this is what I do in my therapy sessions with my patients. It's this type of therapy called exposure therapy. So if you're afraid of social situations, of like speaking like this right now, we'd want you to practice doing that over and over again until it's not so scary. If you're afraid of having panic attacks, taking tests, jogs, bridges, small spaces, do those things over and over again until that fearful thing is manageable. This type of therapy works well, it works quickly, and so this is called an exposure, when you approach something that you're anxious about to teach your brain that it's not so fearful. So the first story I want to share with you is about anxiety. It's about approaching the uncertain. I was working with a patient, a wonderful, intelligent, athletic 16-year-old whose anxiety and OCD had a very specific pattern, a particular pattern. She was afraid of changes in plans and when things deviated from the expected situation. Since I work at a hospitalization level of care, a higher level of care, her anxiety had gotten to the point where she would plan out everything, every little detail. If she would go to meet with friends, she would plan things out minute by minute, where they would go, what she would eat, what she'd order from the menu, the topics of conversation. The idea of not knowing what to expect felt so gut-wrenching that she tried to control the world around her. And what led her to the clinic that I work at was that one day she was waiting in line for ice cream, and she always got the same exact thing, mint chocolate chip. And when she got to the front of the line, they were out of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And as she looked at the many different flavors to choose from, she began to panic. The line grew behind her. She couldn't make that choice, make that decision. She didn't know what to do, felt nauseous and overwhelmed. So when we met, we began doing exposures to uncertainty. We'd have her mom pick her up and drive her to different places, assign her different tasks that she didn't know about ahead of time, buy 2 rolls of toilet paper, pick out an ice cream flavor, visit a relative, and have a conversation. I remember discussing with her that sometimes the scary thing does happen when things are uncertain. Sometimes you go out to dinner and there's nothing on that menu that you like. You can't find a cab home. The test is all the questions you didn't study for. And all you can do is keep on moving. Try to get through it. Keep approaching the things that are important to you. So previously, she had stopped going to school, stopped seeing friends, stopped doing the things she loved, since uncertainty is so pervasive in all different areas of our life. By the time she left our clinic, she was able to approach even if things went wrong, looking at life as an exposure. So one day we went back to the ice cream store, and she ordered an ice cream flavor she'd never even had before, just like that, approaching the uncertainty with curiosity. When COVID hit, the pandemic turned so many of our worlds upside down. With the shifting rules of the pandemic, it became one after another exposure to uncertainty. Practicing handling the shifting world around me in that moment, it felt like quicksand, losing my footing on the world, and I realized this must have been what it felt like to my patient when she stood there at the front of the ice cream line. How terrifying uncertainty can be. I began to try, thinking of her, to take these changes as one new experience, one new exposure after another. And it's hard. It didn't feel comfortable. Figuring out, how do we go from here? How do we continue on when we're not sure what next week, next month looks like? So the second story I have is about a book, and this will all come together. So I was rereading a book at the start of the pandemic. What brought me into psychology was a love of literature, a love of learning about people and perspectives, stories similar to my own, different than my own. And there's a book I actually first read at SEM, and I began rereading it at the start of the pandemic. It's by E.M. Forrester. It's called Howard's End. And one of the things that's always stuck with me from this book is the epigraph at the beginning of the book, the quote that starts the book. It reads, "Only connect." I picked up this book on a whim. I wanted to read a love story, something sad, something that would captivate my attention and pull my focus away from long hours on Zoom. And the main character in the book describes over and over again the power of connection, especially in the spirit of shifting the social order and norms. I was reading this book during a time when the only ways we could connect seemed to be online, and it felt so apparent how much we all craved connection. And we did. We found ways to connect, to listen to one another, to try and fend off being alone. And I think during COVID, the necessity, the almost lifeblood of connection shone through even more strongly for each of us. I remember sitting with uncertainty and thinking, tomorrow I'll go back to the hospital. It'll only be a few more days. And that connection of sitting in uncertainty with others brought some type of grounding force for me. It helped me imagine what my patient must have felt like when uncertainty was all that she could envision ahead, and the relief that she must have felt when she was able to embrace the unknown. So I thought about these two stories together: connection, exposure, and approaching. I realized in reading this book and thinking through the therapy sessions I did during the pandemic that it's not just about approaching uncertainty, sitting with uncertainty, approaching what may, but rather tolerating uncertainty while connecting. Connections and social interactions are some of the most uncertain parts of life. They're completely unpredictable. I spend all day talking and getting to know my patients, and I'll never be able to predict what someone will do, what they'll say next. I'll never really fully know what it's like to be them, what they're thinking and feeling. And so in this way, connection becomes the compass through which we can navigate uncertainty. Some of our strongest connections come at times when we're exposed to uncertainty, when we're approaching what we fear and being vulnerable. These are the times when others surprise us with their humanity and their care. And some of the strongest bonds exist because they were born of uncertainty. So to go back to all of you, to bring all this together, when I first spoke with Mrs. Marlette about your class, she mentioned with pride how special you all are. She spoke of your resilience and your willingness to have difficult conversations, to advocate for change and strive for social justice in a manner that was kind, thoughtful, strong, and empathetic. She said to me that you are not afraid to approach, that you are ready to challenge the status quo, even in a year when uncertainty and difficulty was higher than most. She described the unique and different attributes that make up the students in the class of 2021, artists, engineers, athletes, writers. And in hearing about your class, I felt that your resilience lay not only getting through this year, applying to college, navigating friendships, completing your academics during a global pandemic, but also in approaching with a willingness to create change, even when the world is shifting under your feet. In not shying away from uncertainty and retreating with avoidance. You did not step away from the hard conversations or questions without clear-cut answers, but approached, connected, and listened. And I think that's something incredibly special. This is, in my mind, what makes you all so resilient and makes me so excited for all of your futures. Your ability to tolerate the uncertainty of this year and seek out connection even when it's the hardest thing to make happen and there's no roadmap for how to do it. And so my words of wisdom, what can I impart to you today, is basically to keep doing what you're doing. The world will continue feeling really, really uncertain, for better or worse. And I hope that you embrace that uncertainty as a space for movement and change, that you approach and continue to connect even when the future is so unknown. So to end with E.M. Forrester's words, I'll say only connect, and I'll add on, keep approaching the uncertain. Best of luck.
Good afternoon, students, parents. To begin, I would like to recognize those students who could not be here with us today, and we will show them on the screen. Grace Christine Brannon. Jieho Chen. Ningshan Dai. Shiting Huang. Chenlei Li. Le Sun. Taoran Soon. My apologies, they were mixed up on the sheet. Last but not least, Xiehe Tong Zhong. Congratulations to you. We wish you were here with us. We will now begin with the students here. Peyton Emily Wagner. Yiting Zhang. Phung Tai Mai Ha. Morgan Page Ball. Ellen Josephine Yanko. Dorcas Kinja Buenge. Catherine Rebecca Bergstrom. Grace Lusinski. Sophie Elizabeth Bates. Summer Mahdi Al-Raziki. Dagny Catherine Rebhan. Tia Rebecca Browder. Catherine DeVere Holman. Mary Grace Stoy. Kimberly Ray Seth. Jada Courtney Ball. Sophia Rodriguez. Alexa Danielle Friedman. Anna Shuying McNamara. Gabriella Patricia Vaquero. Drajing Wang. Annabelle Rain Daly. Brooke Elizabeth Hogel. Grace Noel Harvey. Eva Claire Valentine Maines. Clara Jean Murphy. Molly Danielle Gahn. Lauren Elizabeth Hanforth. Gabrielle Rebecca Finkelstein. Hannah Clementine Kane. August Elizabeth Ann Maines. Vile Kyla Nicole Wanene. Rebecca Ann Dunklin. Margaret Grace Schultz. Lillian Heron Kong. Juliana Carol Fanara. Isabel Jane Embler. Leah Robin Walker. Alexa Morgan Grow. Penny Jean Joseph. and Caroline Rose Finkbeiner.
Every evening, one of my cats walks around the house with a toy mouse in her teeth, offering it as a gift. Cats will do this, sometimes gifting actual dead birds and mice to their human companions. And any parent who's ever had an important phone call or frustrating household repair interrupted by an earnest child with a crayon drawing will tell you, kids do this too. There are two lessons to be learned here. The lesser one is for toddlers and cats. Read the room. If you see the lower half of a middle-aged man sticking out from under the kitchen sink, maybe now's not the time for your fake dead mice and knock-knock jokes. But the greater lesson is for the rest of us. Life is an act of interpretation. Value is subjective. Try to appreciate the weird and sometimes repulsive gifts that life offers us. It is in this spirit that I humbly offer you a few dead mice of my own. Mouse number one. Imagine a map on the wall containing all the things we could be. And when we graduate high school, we're given a dart and told to throw it at a desired location. This, I understand, is why many of you are feeling anxious right now. You're worried about not hitting your mark. The truth is that most of us go through a lot of darts. And more often than not, our darts land in unexpected places. And sometimes, it turns out, these unexpected places are better than the mark. All the world's inspirational posters and insipid pop songs will tell you to follow your heart. I'm telling you, as stupid as it sounds, to follow your dart. Wherever it lands, connect with the people there. Depend on them. Let them depend on you. That's the first step to a meaningful life. Mouse number 2. There is a myth that if you make the right decisions and you get on the right track, you'll arrive at some majestic and lofty plateau called success. I suspect this is also a source of anxiety. You're worried about making those right decisions and finding that right track. The good news is that there is no right track or lofty plateau. You don't have to wait for your life to begin, because it already has. If you're here right now, and you are, you already have thousands of days successfully lived behind you, thus proving that you're fully capable of a few thousand more. In fact, you've already been doing the very thing that makes life so difficult, which is making sense of it. You already know that truth is elusive and ambiguous. Life is an act of interpretation. I think of this whenever I'm absolutely sure that I'm right, because it's humbling to know that I'm also simultaneously wrong. It's okay, I think. Look around. I'm not alone. And here's the fine print on success. Life demands to be lived every day, even after you think you've arrived at some sacred destination. It never stops demanding your attention, your vigilance, your participation. Success is just your ability to appreciate what you have and who you are. That's within reach now. Mouse number 3. We're here today to celebrate the end of your compulsory education. And in typical human fashion, the next thing you have lined up for yourself is more education. That's comedy gold. Before you begin the next round of school, I ask you to reconsider education itself. Teaching is the desire to share all that is worth preserving and knowing. It's a way of scooping up all the best and worst parts of history and asking for more of the former and less of the latter. And if you're doing it right, learning is done because you love what the human race has created, and you are willing to work to preserve it, to build upon it, to improve it. Learning is noble. It is heroic. Remember this at the end of a semester, when you're studying for 3 exams and writing 2 final essays, all hopped up on vile energy drinks. Mouse number 4. Half-life is the time required for a substance to reduce its potency to half its initial value. Nice words and good deeds, unfortunately, have a very brief half-life. Consider the powerful rush of dopamine you feel when someone says something nice to you or likes something you posted on social media. 5 minutes later, you're wondering with deep resentment and red-hot incredulity why everyone else isn't saying those nice things to you. Meanness, on the other hand, like a radioactive substance, has a painfully long half-life. We brood over the mean things people say and do to us for far longer than the nice things. Sometimes the half-life of meanness even outlives us. Success, unfortunately, is like niceness. It, too, has a very short half-life. As soon as we achieve success, we're already looking around for more. This is why it's important to consider the potential damage we could do getting to the top. Relationships neglected, backstabbed, resources wasted. The half-life for all that meanness is long, much longer than our success. Please, consider this and behave accordingly. Mouse number 5, the final mouse. We asked you to learn math because it is a practical skill. We asked you to learn science to appreciate the governing rules of our physical world. We asked you to learn history to better understand the problems of the present and hopefully build a better future. We asked you to learn how to read and write because communication is at the center of every transaction. But what in the hecking heck was the purpose of all those novels, plays, poems, and short stories? I'll tell you one last time. Life is an act of interpretation. There will be problems and meanness and injustice and all sorts of awfulness you cannot control. The way you decide to interpret life's most painful and puzzling moments will decide your trajectory. And the greater your interpretive skills, the more creative you are, the easier it will be to find hope, which is sometimes just foolishness in formal attire. Hope is the fiction that gives us the resolve to keep fighting the good fight. As a middle-aged dad who lately finds himself getting weepy at even mildly sentimental dog food commercials, I'm not a big fan of goodbyes. But as a lifelong reader of literature, I've found a better way to interpret the pain of loss. It's real, hard evidence of love, and we should always be proud of our capacity to love. Graduates, you were the first group of sophomores I taught when I came to SEM. You were the first to show me the wide spectrum of qualities SEM students were capable of: leadership, integrity, creativity, bravery, weirdness, and through this past year, resilience. Thank you for accepting me into your community, for asking me to speak today, and for making this a hard goodbye.